welcome back, and welcome to the Preemie Power Week, Day 4, if you're just joining us now. I'm Fabiana Bacchini, Executive Director of the Canadian Premature Babies Foundation, CPBF, and your host for this event. The Preemie Power Week is the second of two international live series that the CPBF is hosting in 2020 in recognition of World Prematurity Day. These educational sessions are in collaboration with the International Family Integrated Care Committee, the Canadian Association of Neonatal Nurses, EFCNI, and GLANS, the Global Alliance for the Newborn Care. For those not familiar with CPBF, we are a charitable organization, and our mission is to support and educate Canadian families of premature babies every step of the way. We believe that through consistent information, access to helpful resources, and peer support inside and outside the NICU, we can empower families, ensuring they are ready to care for their baby. Consistent information is especially important today when we are facing a global pandemic. With educational sessions like this, we intend to bring you the guidance of healthcare professionals and the knowledge gathered by researchers around the world. These are valuable tools to help our community raise awareness and advocate for the well-being of families and their babies. I'd like to thank AbbVie for the unrestricted educational grant and Pampers for supporting the Preemie Power Week. And right now we're going to talk about connecting and communicating well with Preemie parents virtually and the bedside. Jack Hourigan, veteran ICU, FICARE parent, and communication specialist at the Sway Partners, will discuss the essential role that parents play as partners in the circle of care, especially during times of COVID-19. Strategies for engagement, wellness, and virtual communication with Preemie families will be explored followed by a live Q&A. Jack Hourigan is specialized in building connection. As a professionally trained improviser, writer, and former television host, she combines her lived experience as a Preemie parent with her communications expertise to integrate teams, bring awareness, and enhance healthcare delivery. She volunteers with the Canadian Premature Babies Foundation, works with It Doesn't Have to Hurt pain management education, and other initiatives which enhance the lives of patients, families, and healthcare professionals. Jack, thank you so much for joining me here today. What a pleasure to see you and to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I actually can't see you. I just see my screen. But other than that, it's awesome. It was so great to listen to Marcia speak too and hear about what's going on there. And yes, I'd like to fly all the way to Halifax and just have a shower in their unit because it's awesome.
So yeah, Jack, your presentation is on screen. You can start and we have a Q&A at the end.
Sounds great. Okay, so as Fabi said, my name is Jack Hourigan, and I am a mom of a premature baby. My daughter Tess, here she is on the screen, is now 9, but this was her in 2011. She was born at Mount Sinai, and she was 27 weeks. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified and didn't know anything about having a premature baby, like most people who have babies too soon. But what changed for me was something called family integrated care, where I became an active role in my daughter's circle of care, and I had a purpose every day. The importance of being there and being present in the unit for my daughter, for my own mental health, for my family, and learning about how to be a better parent after I left the unit was so helpful to me. I'm sure you've heard all about family integrated care, but for me, what was really important was being there and learning about my daughter and being the person who knew her very well. There was a period where we were close to the end of our time at Mount Sinai, and my daughter, out of the blue, kept having a lot of cluster spells, and we couldn't figure out why. So that was delaying our leaving the hospital. And because I was doing family integrated care and charting her in and outtakes all day, and because I was at rounds every day, and because I felt comfortable and safe with the team to ask questions and put my input in at rounds, I discovered that I thought it was the iron she was getting orally that was causing these spells. And I brought it up with the nurse practitioner. So afterwards, she said, well, bring it up at rounds. And we did. And they said, okay, go downstairs and maybe we'll get the cherry flavored Palafor, the iron for her, and try that instead because my daughter likes that at home. Well, we did. It changed everything. And she stopped having the spells and we were home 2 days later. So the integration of parents and families as critical parts of the team is so important, and being present as a provider and an advocate and a parent, as opposed to being a visitor, is so important, especially in times of COVID like now. So we've all heard about the patient and family-centered care principles: respect and dignity, participation, information, and collaboration. But like I said, FI Care goes one step further, and it really becomes that the parents are true partners in the baby's care. And it really changed the way my time at the NICU was with my daughter, and it also changed other people's after me. I became a parent liaison in the hospital at Sinai afterwards, and peer support was so important for people who have been there to help others. So having that network, or having the network with the Canadian Premature Baby Foundation online right now, is critical. Just like Dr. Marcia was saying earlier about keeping that connection and making sure that people feel heard and connected and have a network of support for themselves, for their mental health, and for stressors in these situations. So when you're partnering with patients and families, whether it's virtually or in real life, there's a lot of things. My background is Second City and improv and theater. So there's a lot of things with your body and your voice and ways to communicate that you may not have thought about before. So I'm just going to go through a few things that might help you to interact with patients and families better. And if you are a patient or family person, how to interact with the team. So keep in mind that eye contact is really important. Now, eye contact is really important in person when you're seeing each other, but in times like these, eye contact by looking at your camera and trying to connect that way is equally as important. Seems weird at first that I'm talking to a green dot, but as they taught us in television many years ago, talking to the green dot is like talking to somebody on the other side of the camera who is a friend or someone that you want to connect with. So finding that connection and having that partnership with patients and families starts with really being present and connecting through eye contact or connection this way. We've all heard about rephrasing and repeating back information to see how patients and families are hearing it and how it's landing. That's so important. As a NICU mom myself, I was so overwhelmed and there was too many things coming at me at once. So having someone really be there and be present, and for me to reiterate back what I didn't know so that they could help me through the journey, was really important. Also, roadmaps. I loved structure. I loved the structure of family integrated care. When I did not have that before the beginning of my stay in the NICU, I felt lost like a cork in the ocean. But when I had a structure and I knew what was going to happen next, as much as you can in a NICU, it really gave me some grounding. It gave me peace and calm, and getting information and a roadmap in small chunks was really important for me. It's so overwhelming, so breaking it down into small pieces. We talked about, eye contact and being virtual, but reading the room, as in body language, tone of voice, if people are looking away, and reading the Zoom is also equally as important. So in addition to talking to the camera, but looking at the Zoom, if it's a group, if you're hosting a group, or if you are doing one-on-one with a patient or family, being aware of nuances of the body, being aware of how people are holding their head, being aware of tension in their body, just seeing the whole person inside and out. And active listening. That can be by seeing the person's body, but also really engaging and repeating back phrases or mirroring body language and a couple of words here and there so that you're connected to the person. When I was in the unit, the most important thing for me was to hear people say please and thank you to me. that I was part of something, that I wanted to connect. When someone thanked me for doing something with my child, it was wonderful. Or giving compliments, to feel connected to the staff and feel like I was valued, was really important for me. Also, smiling. Whether it's just eye contact and a smile and looking up, whether you are present in the unit or doing it online, smiling and feeling connected to someone is really important. If you're worried about a patient or family and you don't know what's going on, asking an open-ended question as opposed to a yes or no question is really important. A question like, tell me more or help me understand, as opposed to a yes or no. Are you eating? No. Tell me more about your eating habits. Tell me when you're sleeping. Explain to me how. Those kind of things will draw out more information. Short questions give long answers, which give you information to help and connect with each other. And as I said before about encouraging peer-to-peer support online or in person, so important to connect with someone who actually gets it. Now let's talk about a little bit about if you are doing projects. I know it might be hard to do right now in this climate, but when you are including patients and families in projects, it's so important to include them from the beginning, not at the end when they have to pick out the wallpaper or the shower head in the unit. Having buy-in and ownership from the beginning, that you're all in it together and everybody's voice matters, is really important. Nowadays, there's a lot more options for meeting virtually. So giving options for people to participate in research or in committees or online peer-to-peer support is so important. These times are tough. It's hard, and we're all going through struggles. So valuing people's time and understanding that everybody's at home right now, so the balance is a little bit shifted. And being aware of triggers, from the unit, or certain words or things that might bring back feelings is important. So making sure that people in your committees, or if you're working in groups and trying to do some sort of a research project, that you check in with the patients and families and make sure things are landing okay and they're feeling okay. And that way it brings in a lot of diverse perspectives. You don't want everybody having the same experience. You want to learn from everybody and really become a team so that you can make the best possible changes and help the patients and families. This was a course that I did. I was at a conference and I saw a doctor speak about this called Vital Talk, and this concept called nurse. And I have nothing to do with them, but I will say it was really beneficial for me. So if you want to Google it later. It's just giving role play and words and how to speak to patients and families. Naming it is the first one in the nurse. Understanding, respecting, supporting, and exploring. So when I was in the unit, there was a little bit of a mishap that happened with my daughter, and we had a family meeting. And I was so fortunate that the doctor who started the family meeting said to me, I'm sorry this happened. How can we make this situation better? We are here to help you. And that was a game changer for me. That changed everything. I felt heard, I felt respected, I felt like we could work together instead of me losing it and being terrified and scared. So words matter, grounding matters, and finding ways to connect with patients and families and understand where they're coming from is simply about how you word something. So if you can, check out Vital Talk. It's a great program. Let's talk about how we show up. These are silly times in the world right now, and showing up, how you show up as a caregiver, as a clinician, as a patient, as a family member is so important. So mindfulness, breathing, taking breaks, doing things for yourself and self-care is so important. Journaling your feelings, knowing when things are getting too much, and actually pressing the pause button and stepping away. whether you are helping a family or you are a family member yourself. It sounds silly, but even on Zoom, I encourage clients when we are on long calls to take breaks and open a window, get some fresh air, stick your head out the window, or go outside and walk around the block. Just getting some perspective, sunshine on your face, and air is so important. Another great way to show up for patients and families is to debrief first. When things go awry, being able to, in a healthy way, talk with your team about what happened and how you can change it for the future. And really being honest and having a safe place where you can discuss that together and having brave conversations with each other to make things better. Another way is if you are, like I said before, on virtual, connecting through the camera, really making sure that you're talking to your colleagues or patients and families directly, and you're present with nothing else distracting you outside. And I heard something yesterday. I was giving a webinar, and a wonderful woman who is a CFO of a company, I found out she was a premature baby. And she started talking about her life and her job, and it just came up out of nowhere. And I was so taken aback by how she spoke and the impact of being a premature baby and how it impacts her as a leader today. And one of the things she said was, sometimes I get ants in my head. Ants were thoughts. I can't even remember what they stand for, but incoming negative thoughts, a negative thought coming in, ants in your head, and how to get rid of that. Positive self-talk, talking yourself through something and breathing. These are difficult times. There's a lot of pressure on healthcare workers, on the system, on everybody being on top of each other and at home, and most importantly, the unknowns. So being good to yourself and trying to internalize that is so important. So you are all superheroes. Thank you for the work you do. It's incredible. I am so grateful. And I want to know from you, if you want to interact later or just to reflect on this later in the day, think about what your superpowers are. When you have a healthcare team, what do you bring to the table? Everybody has their own superpowers. Some people may be great in a crisis. Some people may use humor to deflect. Some people may be great at bringing the room down and being calm. Some people may be great at putting in an IV when someone else is stressed. Being aware of the superpowers on your team and how you can use them together as a unit and how you can use them to make each other feel safe and comfortable and have each other's back. These are amazing times, and being able to use your superpowers and really connect with other people makes some of these hard days a little bit less hard. So let's look at this last one here. This is a picture of my daughter Tess. Like I said at the beginning, this is her preemie week picture from last year, actually. I love her hat. But when I look at this picture, it's on my screensaver. And I encourage you all to take a look at your phone right now and look at your screensaver. The most important people or thing to you is likely on that. And when you are feeling overwhelmed and when you need to connect and when you really need to know what matters, take a look at that. And remember that everyone around you is human like you, whether they are patients and family in the unit or your family at home. Everybody has a screensaver, and everybody is human, and everybody has people they love and protect. So when things go awry, 9 times out of 10, it's just to protect people they love. So keep that in mind, and also remember that your screensaver is something for you to reflect on when you need a moment of calm and peace to bring you grounded. The last thing I'll say about grounding is doing body scans. When you feel your body and know your body, you know you're tense and you need to release. Exercises to do that are great. Breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, box breathing, all of the above. So I hope some of this was helpful. I'm here to answer a few questions if anybody has any, if anybody's out there. I don't know. I feel like I'm just talking to a green dot right now. So I am going to try and not share my screen.
Yay, so no green dot anymore.
All right. My screen, I don't know how to undo this, Fabi, but maybe you can bring me back to you and I together. Okay, here we go.
Just stop sharing.
Stop sharing, stop sharing. Okay. I'm an old lady when it comes to technology. Is it stop sharing?
Yes, on our side. Can you see me?
I can see you. So are we good to go?
Yeah, so all good. So Jack, thank you so much for your presentation, for taking the time to talk to us today. You are not my screensaver, but you were my saver when I was in the ICU. Jack was the first parent partner in Mount Sinai Hospital as part of the research study for FICARE, and I was one of the lucky ones to have Jack on my bedside. And to this day, I remember one day I was having a terrible day on a little waiting room on the old unit, and I was crying because I was tired of the ICU. And Jack came to me, and I remember you said, you hit that wall, didn't you? I was like crying, but it was such an important moment for me to have someone who understood the journey and where I was at the journey and how exhausted I was after more than 100 days in the ICU. And that peer support is so very important for families in the ICU. So that leads to my question to you. You know what is happening in the ICUs right now with parent separation, no peer supporting person in the hospitals. What is your take on it, Jack?
Wow. Well, there's so many layers to this, but I will say, because both of you and I have got peer support and know how important it is. Peer support, virtual or together, is important, but also being in the unit and being present as a family with your partner to be there for your baby is so important. I can't imagine going through this without being with my child and having the support needed. So, the Facebook page that you guys do and the peer support is so important for that. And luckily, having technology in the NICU now to connect people and have that feeling where someone gets it when you do hit the wall and you're just like, I can't do this anymore. That feeling of complete exhaustion and not knowing what to do next and having someone just to guide you over that next little hump is so important. There's a lot going on in units right now, and I'm a big advocate for parents being present. They are not visitors. I know this is hard to navigate, but these are things that will affect the baby and the parents for the rest of their lives. So having them together as a unit and having support is really important.
Absolutely. But I also want to let people know that every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Kate Robson, who is also a mom of preemies and a therapist, is hosting a real-time peer support group, and you can join by joining the Canadian Preemie Parent Support Network, which is our private Facebook group. So at least you can have those conversations with families, checking in, see how you're doing, whether you are in the ICU or home after discharge, because it's a lot of isolation, especially at this time when we already have to stay home. You cannot access resources outside the house. Everything is virtually. So it's very important that we stay connected somehow during this time. So Jack, a question for you, because we know there's a lot of follow-up appointments happening online at the moment. And some diagnoses are being done virtually. So how can clinicians break news, difficult news for families virtually?
That is a really great question. So some of the things I mentioned in the presentation about connecting, staying present, tone of voice is really important. I also have a little video of how to set up your space so it's professional, and I can give you the link to that. But, mirroring, active listening, even though you're not in the same room, but doing it virtually, when people hear that type of news, they need to feel supported. So really being aware of their body language, like I said earlier, reading the Zoom, actually hearing if it's landing. This is, these are difficult conversations. So the other thing I would say to clinicians too is to be able to say, how is this landing for you? How are you feeling right now? And open-ended questions to get more information to gauge what's happening, because it's hard in two-dimensional to really know what's going on with someone, especially when they're getting diagnoses or they're confused. So listening, connection, reading the Zoom, follow-up is really important. You may have a full conversation and think it went one way, and then find out later that it didn't land anywhere near what you thought. So coming back to it and revisiting it and making a plan, an action plan. I'm going to check in with you in 24 hours or come back to it, is really important. But tone of voice is important, and body language.
Absolutely. So very important. Jack, will you also share your website, because you have a lot of tips for families who are home right now during COVID. Can you talk a little bit about the resource that you made available there?
Yeah, and it's frozen right now because we had too many videos on our site at the moment. So I will re-pull it back up. But I had a lot of educational resources and videos and things for parents at home when the first wave of COVID hit. So we're going to put it back up on our website for later as well. I think we might be going in that direction again, and knock on some wood that we're not going there. But also on the website, there's a couple of podcasts about storytelling and the importance of storytelling and telling your story as a patient or a clinician, and the timing of that, and knowing how to tell your story and why, as well as, virtually connecting and setting up your space and the camera angles and things like that. So technical things as well to share with sites, or with, to get a Zoom going in a productive way, especially if you're doing, rounds that way or whatever it is.
Absolutely. And Jack also just finished working with us on the video series that we just launched this week. Welcome to the NICU. What can you do in an ICU? And feeding your baby in the NICU is all evidence-based. And Jack put her heads together with a lot of doctors from across Canada to really bring that information. It's four short videos with all that you need to know when you're first coming to the NICU. So Jack, thank you so much for joining us here today, for sharing your experience with prematurity, but also to share your professional expertise with healthcare professionals across the country and across the world. We have an international audience here. We are so grateful to you, and I hope I will see you soon in person.
I hope so too. I want to give you a big hug. Thank you to all of you out there, all of you healthcare workers, parents, everybody. Happy Preemie Week to you all, and congratulations to you, Fabiana. That the website has so much information now, and this is such a wonderful resource, and all the things you're doing at the Canadian Premature Babies Foundation for patients and families, and it's amazing. Great resources. I bow down to you in my purple Preemie shirt.
It's all teamwork.
Ciao, Bella.
Thank you.
Thank you.